Welcome back to another class of app development with Python. In this class, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about size hint and position hint. So this is kind of like a substitute for changing out your widgets and even your box layout, which you've seen in my previous class. So when you're trying to make statements or in your app, then you have to make a couple of box layouts, which is going to help you to segment it up and also turn it into a couple of widgets and even a couple of things which you want to represent. So I've shown you how you can use the position and also the height and width and how you can change out the size of any specific widget inside of your app. But I'm going to show you about the second method of how you can use size hint and also position hint to customize it the way you want to. And I'm also going to be showing it to you step by step. So make sure not to skip any part because if you do, you might miss out on something very important and face some hassle later on. So without any further ado, let's move on with our class by opening up PyCharm on our device. As you can see on my screen, I have already worked on in my previous class. Now I'm going to go off to the KV file and I'm going to customize it a bit more. So in my last class, I've used this box layout and this example, and then I've also used buttons. So here, what I'm going to do is that if I don't want to work with this file, I can work on with the KV file. So if I want to work on with the KV file, what I basically have to do is postpone this first. You can postpone it anytime you want. You can try playing it and checking it out on your own to check it out how it actually looks like. So what I'm going to do is going to go off to my box layout example, and inside I'm going to put in the same commands. Here I'm going to put it inside the tab, and I'm going to put in, let's say, orientation. Make sure all of them are, let's say, lowercase. I'm going to put in orientation over here. There we go. And obviously put in a colon, and after that, double quotation, and I'm going to put in, let's say, vertical. So let's try playing it out on my own again. And now you can see it is still working out like this. Okay, so this is basically working out like vertical. So what I'm going to do is going to be inside of it. I'm going to put in a couple of buttons. So here I'm going to put in the C button too, which is going to help me to customize it a bit more. So I'm going to put in button. I'm going to put in, let's say, colon. Inside, I'm going to put in text. Here, I'm going to put in a colon again. And I'm going to put in, let's say, C. Okay, so this is going to be my C button over here, and I've already created myself a C button. So if I play it out, this is how it should look like. And I can also remove it anytime I want to. So let's just say I'm going to remove it just in case. And you can try playing it out, and you will basically see it might not run, and it might just end with this ending code because now it is not working. You can also try removing them up, and you can also press on Ctrl Z to undo the process. But what I'm going to do is going to be removing up this button over here, play it out, and you'll basically see this is how it should look like. I can also remove up this one and try playing it out, and it will remove another one. If we remove up this one too, it will also remove the third one inside of that specific app. Now, what you can basically do is try out postponing these values. So what you basically have to do is put in a pass. You can put in a pass if you want to. You can also put in double quotation inside, which is going to be the third quotation, which is going to help to postpone up everything. So if I put in double quotation inside like this, it will postpone up the whole thing, and you can try playing it out. And this might show me an error over here. Okay. So basically you have to rely on the KV. Okay. So I'm going to play it out, and you can try checking it out. Right click on it. And this is already running on the main file. So I'm going to click on main. You can try playing it out anytime, and this is how it should run, or this is how it will give you an error. Okay, you can try playing it again, and this will not work because all of them are now postponed. Okay, so I'm gonna hit on enter to create the space over here just to make it a bit more organized. What I'm just gonna do is buttons from here. Let's just say I'm gonna remove out the self-edited buttons. Now, as I've removed the self-edited buttons, what you can also do is label up the third one. So if you want to label out the third one, what you basically have to do is go off of the KV file. And on the last button, what I'm going to do is going to be turning this into a label. I'm going to play it out. Now check it out on your own. And now you can see that this has just turned into a label, but these two are widgets. Okay. So here, as we have three of these buttons, or let's say the size of it, and what I'm going to do over here is that we're going to customize it a bit more. So to customize it, what I'm going to do is going to be try applying it. But I'm not saying that it will work, but what you can check, what you can do is basically check it out. So if I just put it inside of the text, how I want to customize it, size, if I put in size, colon, and inside if I put in double quotation, I'm going to work with display pixels. So I'm going to put in 50 dp, and you're going to put in a comma after that, and I'm going to put in a space, and inside I'm going to put in, let's say, another, let's say 50 dp, quotation off. And if I play it out, it will show me an error most of the time, but it will also try playing it out, but nothing will happen. You can see all of them are basically the same. So basically you have to understand that this does not work. Now what you can try doing is use hash, which is also an argument of Python. So even though if I just put in a hash over here, I'm going to put in hash size. If I play it, it will still not work because now it is still not terming it as an argument. So just for that, we are going to be using the size hint and the pause hint function. It's not basically a function, it's basically a command which is going to help you to just relay up the message to Python that we want to customize it. Okay. So here, what I'm going to do is going to be making another line over here. And inside that, I'm going to put in, let's say, size underscore, and I'm going to put in hint. Okay. Hint over here. And now what I'm going to do is going to be putting in a colon. And inside of this colon, I'm going to put in, let's say, 8% height and 5% width. But in Python, it would be starting with the width and then ending with the height. So if I put in, let's say, 8% width, or let's say 9% width, I'm going to put in a comma. And after that, what you can also do is that we can put in, let's say, 4% to be the height. Okay, so I'm going to put in points or dot 4. Okay, let's just put in 4. And if I try playing it out, you'll basically see now a part of it has been removed. So you can see that when you want to customize the segment of any button or any label, then what you basically have to do is turn that or use the command size hint. Now we've used size hint on this, so it will also work on the next buttons, right? Yes, it will. So if I just put in this over here, if I put in, let's say, size, and if I put an underscore and then put in hint, I'm just going to put in hint over here. And I'm going to do is going to be putting in a colon. And after a colon, you're going to start off with the width. So if it's going to be 0.7% width, comma, and then 0.3% height. So if I just play it out, you can also see the B has also been changed. Okay, so it is basically customized a bit more. If I just put in 1 over here, 1% and play it out, you'll basically see it's going to be 1%, okay, not 10. So if I put in, let's say, 5% over here, play it out, it's going to be 5%, okay? So this is how you're going to customize it, okay? So now as that you know how you can customize it the way you want to, now we can also move on to the pause, or let's say the position hint. Another thing which you will see is that even if you resize up these values or resize up the panel, it will still stay the same, let's say the numerical value, okay? So this is basically how you're going to use the size hint in Python while app development, and you can also turn it into none. So if you want to like change up, let's say you want to use size, what you're going to basically do is try it out on your own. So I'm going to close it off, and here I'm going to put in, let's say, none. You can also turn it off just by typing in none. Okay, so there we go. We have none over here, and we can also type none over here, none, comma, none. Okay, there we go, removed. And now what we can do is that we can go off to our size and then put in our DP. So you can see 50 dp, 50 dp. If I just play it out, you'll basically see it will show me this invalid syntax because now it is telling me that there is no specific value. You can also turn it off, and let's just try playing it back again. This is how it will show me. Okay, so it's going to still keep up that specific value using that size. and that value of that specific button. Okay, so now we know about the size. Now you can start off with the next function, which is going to be like, let's say, specific values of width and height. So obviously you have to keep in the value or keep in the argument of size hint. But what you're going to basically do is you're going to customize it a bit more. Let's say this is text A, okay? And I want to customize it. So the size is going to be the same, whichever value you put. So you can also put in a hash value, which is going to help us to like understand the argument a bit better. So if I put in the hash value, this is how it will look. Size is going to be 50 dp. And now what I'm going to do is going to be using the size hint value inside. Okay. So I'm going to just start off over here and I'm going to put in, let's say, size hint, and I'm going to put in colon, and I'm going to just copy up that whole thing. Control C. There we go. So here, as we've removed out that part, now what I'm going to do is going to be putting in my own width and also the height. So we can start off with the size, which is already over here. There we go, size. Make sure to put in the space. And here I'm going to put in hash and then put in width. Okay. Width, and put in a colon. And here I'm going to put in, let's say, double quotation, and I'm going to put in, let's say, 108 dp. Okay. And the next one, I'm going to put in, let's say, height. There we go. And now I'm going to do is going to be putting in the height, H-E-I-G-H-T. You don't have to put in a hash value. So I'm going to put in a colon over here, and you can put in the specific value, which is going to be, let's say, 82. Okay. 82 dp. And let's try playing it out. You'll basically see sometimes it might give you an error. But if you actually pull it off, or if it actually works and it meets up all your criteria, this is the result which you will get. Okay, so you can see we have 50 dp, 50 dp, and 108 dp as the width and also the height. But on the button 4 or the button 2, which is B, is not changed. So it's going to stay the same. Okay, so we can also put in the same value on the next ones just by using the same method. Okay, so I'm just going to do is going to be keeping this just the same way. And you can also put in position hint just right after that. So we can also work with specific, let's say, axis. It could be x-axis, it could be y-axis. So if you want to work with the x-axis and y-axis, you have to work just the same way you did just by using size and the width. So I'm going to put in another space for another line, and you're going to start off with the hash. I'm going to put in or make 2 of these hash because I'm going to put in x-axis and I'm going to put in the y-axis. Okay, I'm just going to do is going to be closing it off, Control Z to undo the process. I'm going to put in y-axis, put in a comma. Okay, so x and y-axis, we have it over here. I'm going to put in center. Center. I'm going to put in x and then comma. I'm going to put in right. Okay, so we have right, and then we're going to also make center over here. So you can just use right over here, nothing else. Right. Okay. So that's it. Now here, I'm going to put in center Y. Center underscore Y over here, comma. And then here, I'm going to put in the top value. And the last one we're going to do is going to be using the position hint. Okay. So here, I'm going to make another line. Just take it to this line. I'm going to put in, let's say, right over here. And I'm going to put in pause hint over here, put in a colon, and right after that, you're going to use the third bracket to close it off. So use the third bracket. There we go, just like this. Close it off, and you can try playing it out, and you might see something like this. Okay, so you can see we have applied in our pause hint and also our size hint. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is going to be putting in the specific value. Let's say I'm going to put in 0.5, play out the whole thing, and you can see this is how it should look like. Okay, so if I just change the size, let's say 0.8, and if I just put in .8 and play out the whole thing, this is how it should look like. This is 8% more of these. Okay. So I'm going to do is going to be changing this value to, let's say I'm going to put in 1 as the value, and I'm also going to be using 1 as the value, play out the whole thing, and this is how it should take up the whole space. Okay. So this is how it should look like when you are using pause hint. Now we can use the axis to like, edit it a bit more on our specific axis. Okay. So right after pause hint, we have over here, I'm just going to put in a bit of space over here, double quotation, and put in X. Okay. So right after X, you're going to do is going to be putting in a colon, and you are going to specify the specific value which you want to work with. Okay. So I'm going to put in a colon right after our quotation. And let's say I wanted to say 5%. So if I just put in 5 and hit on enter, this is going to give me that it is taken out to the right side of the x-axis. Okay. So if I just put in, let's say 6%, it's going to be more on the 60% or more on the right. Okay. So you can see A is also taken away a bit more on the right side. Okay. So this is basically how you're going to use the x-axis. And just like that, you can also work on with the y-axis. Okay. So if you want to use the y-axis, you can also try using, like, let's say a different type of method. So another thing on this axis, what you can do is that we also have the value or the variable on the x-axis termed to be right. So inside you can also put in or type in right and play out the whole thing. This will still be on the right side. Okay. So we can also term it out like 8%, play it out, and this is how it should look. We can also put in the X and try it out, but it will be almost like a bit more on the right, okay? And you can also put in another value of the same, like the same variable, which is center X. So I'm going to put in center. I'm going to put in underscore X. And if I play it out just like this, it's going to give me the same value. So no matter whatever value you put, it's going to term up the variable and it's going to work according to that. So if I just put in center Y, it's going to work up just like Y. Okay, so it's going to be a bit more different. So if I put in center Y and if I put in center Y over here and play it out, you'll basically see it is going to work just like this. Okay, so you can see both of them are Y, but if I turn this to be X, play it out, now this is how it should look like. Okay, so this is how you are going to work it up. Okay, so I'm going to put in, let's say, center underscore Y, and I'm going to work up with center underscore X. Play it out. It's going to be just like that. Okay, so I'm just gonna put in X, play it out, and now you can see this is a bit more different. Okay, but it's going to term up every variable that you put. If we want to work up with y-axis, we can also do that, just like I've shown you. Now we're also going to be taking it to the second button. You can also use this, X button or this specific button over here and work on with different values. So if I just put in this, like, let's say top, okay? So if I play it out, now you'll basically see it is like nothing different, but we can also customize it a bit more. Let's say if I put in, let's say 2, play it out, this is how it should look like. Okay, so here I'm going to customize it a bit more. Let's say I'm going to put in 5, which is going to be on the equal value over here, and you're going to do is going to be changing it to a specific value. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to be removing or taking this to this indentation level where we are putting in our pause hint variable. Okay, so another thing is that if you want to remove the A button, so if I play it out just like this, it is how it's going to look like. But what if you want to remove it directly? So if you want to remove it directly, what we can do is that we can put in the X value over here, and you're going to use the 1 value to remove it out. So I'm going to play it up, and you can see the A has been removed. So you can also remove it anytime you want to. And you can also work with the right value and work with, let's say, a 0.5 value. So if I just put in 0.5 over here, all right, and I'm going to put in, let's say, 0.5, which is basically the same value as this one, play it out, and this is how it should look like as the same way. So now you know basically how you can customize it on your own and how you'll be able to use these variables to actually represent your data, represent your button and label inside of your panel. Okay. Now we can do is change it to horizontal value and check it out how it looks like. Horizontal. Now, if we play it out, we'll be able to customize it on our top and bottom axis. So what we can do is on the right, instead of the right, we're going to put in, let's say, center X. So I'm just going to do is going to be typing in center underscore X. And inside of this specific value, I'm going to put in 0.5. Now play out the whole thing. You can see this is how it should look. And then you'll be able to customize your y-axis just like this, play it out. And you can see you'll be able to customize on your y-axis too. So hope you understood everything about this class on how you'll be able to customize your values over here and represent it on your console. So if I put in, let's say, top value as our y. So I'm just going to do is going to be using in y value. If I play it out, you'll basically see now this is working on the y-axis. If I put in top value just like I did, it will show me that this is on the top, which is basically showing on the bottom, but this is where it starts from. Okay. So if I put in, let's say 8 over here and play it out, it is going to be customized and taken a bit more at the top. If I just put in 9 over here, let's say I'm going to put in 9.9 and play out the whole thing. This is how it should represent me. Okay. And if we just put in 1 as the value, it's just going to take up the whole space at the top. Okay. And we can also customize our sizes. Let's say if I put in 1 and if I put in 1 over here and play it out, this is how it should look. And it's going to take up the whole space. And we can also remove out the button on the second one and customize our size hint on our second button. But it's also going to be the same because we have kept it on the neutral value or the default value of the second button. Okay, but you can also copy up the same thing over here on button B or button C, and it's just going to work up just the way I did on this button of A. Okay, so thank you for watching this video up till the very end and hope you understood about everything in this class. If you still have any confusion or any question about any part of this lesson, feel free to ask me anytime. I'm always there to help you out. And without any further ado, let's move on to our next class of Python for app development.